Hey everyone, and welcome to my show. My name is Nick Elston. I'm a leading inspirational speaker, creator of unique mental health engagement strategies, a transformational speaking coach, and founder of Forging People, a community created to empower, inspire, and educate people who truly want to be heard in life and in business. On these shows, I bring you the storytellers, celebrities, speakers, influencers, entrepreneurs, those who have gone from adversity to excitement, who share their stories with vulnerability, transparency, inspiration, and most importantly, completely unfiltered. So without any further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode of The Nick Elston Show. Hey everyone, a big welcome back to The Nick Elston Show. It's season 3, episode 13, and I have a local legend to bring you today. We have the wonderful Amy Kington. Big round of applause.
Hi Nick. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Like the hat.
Thank you. Yeah, it's because they say that to make an impression you need a decent silhouette. So you can obviously relate to this because you're quite well known for wearing a cap, and obviously there are others like, I don't know, Marge Simpson and Russell Brand. So yeah, this is my homage to you today.
I said before we hit record that there's a conference I'm speaking at next year. God, sounds freaky to say next year, but we're not far away now. And there's 5 speakers, and they've left me to the end, and they're doing the silhouette thing, and they're announcing one a week. And there's a fat silhouette with a cap on at the end. Guess whose that is? I said people are going to get that. They're going, especially when they know the topic is mental health. They know it's going to be me. But there we go. Personal brand is king, I guess, isn't it? So, Amy Kington. So you're involved in so much. So let's start right at the beginning. Tell us who you are, what you do, where you're from, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. So I'm a proud South Bristolian, as you can probably tell by my accent. And it's only when you leave the city that you realise quite how bad you sound. Interestingly, Jimmy Carr has tweeted today that he's in Bristol and he loves the city. It's beautiful, he said, but apparently our accents aren't as beautiful. So,
I used to like Jimmy Carr, and I'll be completely honest here. This is our second go round at this conversation because my recording didn't work. So I know we're kind of like deja vu in here, but for everybody else, I love disarming truth. Tell people exactly what's going on. But it's very true. Actually, in the US over the past 18 months, that the Bristolian accent has really rocked for me. I must admit, they really dig it because it doesn't sound English per se. It's got enough of a tinge to say kind of what part of Australia you're from. It's really weird, actually. So, yeah, we digress already.
And there are so many wonderful Bristolians, aren't there? You know, like actor Joe Sims, Bryony from Bake Off, you know, Josie, you know, is now. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are loads of people that you can just rattle off now. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't be so critical of my accent.
But yeah, the hat and the accent, personal brand building as we go through this, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm from Knoll originally. I don't know if you're like this, but I am a massive Bristol City fan. Oh. I know you're of the blue persuasion, and I'm certainly of the red one. But I should confess that actually, whilst I've been a City fan since the age of 6, and I've followed the club all my life, you'll be very aware that I have in recent years been going to City and Rovers alternatively each week.
Yes, it's unique.
So yeah, I love football, Nick, and I love watching it, and I love I just love being around people that love football.
For those outside of Bristol, that you won't recognise how rare this is for somebody to go to both matches, both Bristol Rovers and so me being the blue half of Bristol, North Bristol traditionally, Bristol Rovers, South Bristol, Bristol City. It's in the genes though, isn't it? We kind of get. I've kind of often bemoaned my pap just like not supporting anybody decent. He's kind of sucked me into a life of misery for watching Bristol Rovers all my life. But you can't change, and that's the thing.
That's right. So although I'm red through and through, I still have an appreciation for the game, and also I just want the city to do well. I mean, you know, like if you think about other clubs up and down the country, you know, most big cities have got Premiership football, and I think, you know, Bristol really is that kind of sleeping giant. So anyway, this is my first shirt, Nick.
Oh wow, I remember that one.
So this was my show at the age of 6, and I can't remember quite who we played, but that stain was memorable because the hot dog was utterly wonderful. Oh dear. So who am I? I have had an interesting career in football, interested me. So although I'm a fan, I've also worked in football quite a lot. So I've worked for the Football Association, I worked for the local county football association, and then more recently worked for Bristol City Football Club. So for the Rovers fans amongst you, you'll know Adam Tutton.
Yeah.
I was his equivalent at Bristol City, so I helped to set up what was formerly known as the Community Trust, Bristol City Community Trust. It's now known as the Robbins Foundation, but we took that from £120,000 a year turnover charity right up to £1 million, employing 40 staff and having some really great impact in the community. And then I was fortunate to be seconded out of that role into the academy. So everything kind of under 21s down fell to me, and that was helping the club achieve EPPP Category 2 status. I don't know if that means much to many, but it was.
What does it mean?
Well, it was the Premier League and the Football League's attempts at raising standards within, the pathway really for creating better players. It was a huge undertaking, and there was a lot of work, that had to be done in order to achieve it. And I was successful with the team. And what was really good about that was actually the pathway was heralded as a really good example, nationally. And I was actually the only female, the first female and the only female to be in an academy directorship position.
Wow.
So something I was quite proud of. And then a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to set up my own social enterprise.
Yeah.
And create, opportunities for young Bristolians really to fulfill their potential. So, in my lifetime, I've been very lucky. I was born into a very supportive family. I've got 2 degrees, Nick. Where I was from locally, there were kids that were much brighter than me, but actually the conversation that they had to have with their parents about maybe going on to further and higher education was harder than mine. That was about kind of not going. I mean, I always wanted to go, but that is the contrast in difference really. My difficult conversation would have been, I don't want to go, mum, dad. Their difficult conversation would have been about going. So my city time was wonderful because I created a pathway there, an education pathway, so that kids could undertake an MBQ level 2, a BTEC level 3, a foundation degree at level 4, and then I co-wrote with UE a full degree program.
Wow.
And as a result of that, they actually gave me a free MBA, and it was on that program that I thought, right, it's brilliant working at the football club. I've loved it. I've done 5 years here, but actually it's time now for me to be a little more selfish and focus on something that I want to focus on. And so I set up a social enterprise called Community of Purpose with my brother Joe. And we've been kind of firing on all cylinders ever since. So, our parents, I guess the backdrop is our parents have been registered foster carers. So whilst we've led a very privileged life, the reality is, they've helped hundreds of children over 40 years. And we've seen in many, many situations, young people's fate has been determined at birth. But thankfully, their paths have been, changed or diverted somewhat because of the support mechanisms that we've been able to wrap around them. And so, Joe and I wanted to set up Community of Purpose to tackle some of the big city challenges that young Bristolians face. And it was our fifth anniversary last Tuesday. And do you know what? We've been so busy that it came and passed without me even realising it.
Oh, Which is kind of like I said, it's a blessing and a curse in a way, that the fact you are doing so much great work that you don't realize these milestones. But that's huge. I mean, that's such a massive thing. I mean, I've had our paths first crossed through. Actually, I got told about you, but by a mutual kind of friend, I guess. But then I met you at a networking meeting at Ashton Gate Stadium, ironically, and the home of Bristol City. For those not familiar, great stadium. To be fair, I'll hold my hands up. The facilities are great. However, let's digress quickly. Actually, it's more recently that I've got more involved in kind of what you do, and donated some time to do like a speaking academy type session, ask the speaker kind of thing. That was so much fun. And it was fun because it wasn't like work. I like to think that most of what I do doesn't feel like work, but it genuinely wasn't work. It was just, they were there because they wanted to be there. I was there because I wanted to be there. And we just had some fun with that. And I love that. And I think that was when I really start to appreciate the power and the kindness that you put into the world. I am the kind of product of somebody who went through the fostering system, and I know how powerful that is in terms of an impact on what would have been a really tragic kind of life, and it saved her, really did. And the way that my mum come through the system. So yeah, I love what you do, and thank you for doing what you do, and to Joe as well, of course.
Thank you. I mean, we're really lucky. We've got some amazing supporters. And businesses that really help us to make a difference in the city. So not everybody, can set up their own charity or social enterprise and be in this, fortunate position. But what they can do is utilize their superpowers, like you have, your gifts, your talents, and sometimes investment, to make a difference in the city. So we've created this vehicle really. And it's about kind of, everybody helping out in ways that are meaningful and relevant to, their skills and their abilities and their experience, but is always focused on trying to make Bristol better for our young people.
Absolutely.
And I'm genuinely really, really grateful for, the input and the support that you've afforded us. Because we've got 3 projects, we're not huge, but the impact that we make in the city is quite remarkable, really. So we're very, very low cost, but quite high return. And one of the projects that you very kindly got involved with was the Bristol Young Heroes Awards.
That's right, yeah.
And these awards basically recognise and celebrate the lives and futures of incredible young Bristolians that might have, saved a life. They might have raised huge sums of money for charity. They might be a registered carer for a family member. So, we celebrate them at an annual kind of black tie gala dinner at We the Curious in Bristol, and all of our kind of city partners, politicians, business leads, kind of really get behind them. And so it's not just a one hit, great night, celebrate you and then forget all about you. We've actually created a program called Positive Pathways, and this is what you were part of. So how can we be the adult that we needed when we were their age? And that's what you very kindly do. There's a pathway of, development for these young people so that they get, they build in confidence, they build, their superpowers. So their teamwork, their communication, their leadership, their problem solving. And actually, you hit the nail on the head straight away. We met through networking. It's really important for these young people to connect to other people that can help them on their journey. Some people find it very easy to network and others find it very difficult. And if you're, born into a family where, there isn't that supportive, family unit or the networks into the industries or into the connections that, you might need in order to help you on your journey, thankfully the Positive Pathways program can help those young people, open doors, because you and I both know a lot of the time it's not what you know, it's who you know. And
oh, absolutely. And I think community is I mean, I hear this from audiences all the time, that's the one thing that's been really lacking over the past 18 months, is that whether community was watching football with your friends in the living room, and people were getting really creative with that, having like 3 laptops of Zoom calls on, watching the same game as somebody in the room. But then when lockdown was lifted, obviously getting back into stadiums, seeing your friends, in schools, in universities. And community is the thing that we've really missed. And as for football, I've always said that kind of 3 o'clock kind of ruins a really good day out. I mean, so football gets in the way of that, really. But
it is interesting though, because like community means so many different things, doesn't it? So like it might be the community in which you live in. So you're obviously proudly from the north, I'm proudly from the south. You know, if we stayed in our postcodes, chances are we wouldn't connect, right?
Yeah.
But then there's like communities of interest. So it might be that, you know, you support Bristol Rovers, I support Bristol City, and, you know, at a charity event, you know, when the two clash.
Jeez.
We might come into contact that way, or it might be like communities of practice, right? So,
yeah.
like, you know, through your network in business, we've come into contact, you know, that way. But community of purpose is kind of trying to take all of those things, plus, you know, genuinely make a difference in the world. So we take Bristol, we take people's superpowers and gifts, we take their interests and their hobbies, and we go, okay, how can we utilize all of those strengths, you know, to make Bristol better for our young people? And I'm just really grateful to know you, actually.
Oh, and absolutely back at you. Thank you very much. And I think that's what we're all looking for. So we're looking for commonality. I think if you watch the news for 24 hours or immerse yourself fully in social media, you'll think that humans are bad. I think, but essentially humans are good. I mean, people want you to support as long as you can show the world your true self. And I think sometimes what you're helping the young adults and the children to do is actually to being prepared to be vulnerable in a positive way, as opposed to seeing that vulnerability as a thing that harms them and gives them that fear. And I think that's such a gift, and I don't think everybody can do that. Are you truly being heard in life, in education, in business? Your ability to deliver any message with clarity, power, and emotion will have an ultimately defining impact on your success, personally and professionally. Forging People, founded by Nick Elston, is an online community developed to empower, inspire, engage, and educate you to truly step up. Complete with online courses, early access to in-person coaching and events, free resources, and a community of like-minded people, Forging People will help you manage anxiety, boost confidence, and give you the tools to speak to any audience, whether it's one person or 1 million people. Speaking is more than just standing on stage. Speaking is business. Speaking is leadership. Speaking is influencing. Speaking is life. Contact Nick's team today on pa@nickelston.com or visit nickelston.com today to register your interest. This is the sign you've been looking for. How do you protect yourself when you're dealing with people that could be in challenging situations? Because I am guessing, working off a vibe here, like me, you're an empathic person. You can easily take on the feelings and the experiences of other people that you're talking to. How do you protect yourself?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I think there are lots of life experiences that help you and change you along the way. So when I was 18 and a half, I didn't know quite what I wanted to do career-wise, and so I went to university to study sport because I really loved sport and I was actually quite good at it. But I just did a degree because Mum said, well, if you're not sure at the minute, why don't you just stay in education and see where it takes you? And so at that time I also joined the specials as a police officer, so a volunteer police officer. And it's interesting, Nick, how things unfold, right? Because I gave my time very freely to the community, and I'll explain how and why. But I also gained an awful lot back from it, right? So at 18, I joined the specials, and I noticed that Bristol City Football Club, in partnership with a local charity and the local police station, had a really good social inclusion project for boys. And it was centered around football, right? So it was taking young lads, you know, from the estate, engaging them in training and competitive fixtures. And before you know it, those kids, you know, had something meaningful to do. They, you know, had that community, right, that we all want and need. And it was an utterly brilliant program, but they didn't have anything for girls. And when I was a kid growing up, this was as close as I got to football.
Yeah.
There wasn't in South Bristol any local opportunity to play football. I think my local opportunity was probably Clevedon Town, which is miles away, like literally miles away. Now, I was, believe it or not, a reasonable player. Having never really been coached, I was naturally okay at it. But I couldn't travel to Clevedon. You know, I'm one of 4 kids. My mum and dad had twins on my 6th birthday, so all 3 of us shared the same day. And then later on, my younger brother joined the clan. So there was just no opportunity for me really to join a football club. Whereas, you know, opposite my house was a tennis club, and so I went and got my sport fix because I could walk there, you know, back and forth, you know, with ease. So I spoke to the police and spoke to Bristol City Football Club and said, look, you know, this is a brilliant programme, but I think there's an opportunity here to create something for young females. And so, you know, I said at the time, I've got this, you know, level 2 certificate, which back then was practically unheard of for a female to have the FA level 2 badge. I mean, thankfully now that's totally not the case, and people have kind of gone, you know, much further than that. But I said, look, I've got this badge, I'm not using it. I'm studying sports science at uni. It'd be great to kind of gain practical, you know, real life experience whilst also having a foot in the camp of, you know, being a police officer. And I wrote my dissertation on it, and it was just brilliant. You know, we had about 5 or 6 girls teams in the end, and lots of these, you know, these girls have now kind of grown into women, and they're coaching their own kids teams, and it's just brilliant. It's really, really brilliant. But one of the things that was quite a turning point for me was that I went with the chief superintendent at the time, a guy called Andy Marsh, who then went on to be Avon and Somerset's chief constable. But anyway, we went up to London to present our project to Marks and Spencer's and this problem-orientated policing kind of platform. And we won. And what was brilliant was it obviously got, you know, the recognition that we needed for the project, but it also unlocked some investment. And that was just brilliant for the estate. And so later on, if we fast forward, I didn't know kind of what I wanted to do career-wise, but I had the insight into policing. I knew that with the right training, I could be okay at that. They thankfully gave me an advanced driving course, so I was then able to kind of respond to stuff quite quickly. So for 10 years, it was utterly wonderful. It was such good fun, and I helped, and, you know, but I saw a lot, Nick. I saw a lot, you know, 18, you know, having to arrest somebody that's just battered his wife, and her eye is literally, you can see through her eye because he split, you know, he split the eyelid, and it was horrendous, literally horrendous. So saw lots of stuff, and that really toughened me up because I led a bit of a sheltered life, to be honest. Although I'm from Knoll, there's nice bits, and there's more challenging parts. And, you know, actually I went to St Mary Redcliffe School. You know, I was kind of in a bubble. Really. I knew what was going on out there, but I wasn't part of it. And so policing for me was really, really useful. It kind of helped to show me worlds that I wasn't aware of, and it toughened me up quite quickly. Then I went, you know, I had that decision to make at the end of the 3-year course. You know, do I go into sport? Some of this cost a lot of money, you know, in time and energy and money, or do I go into policing? So I carried on the policing and got a job in sport, which then kind of evolved after time and led me to City. And it was at that point, Nick, where you'll appreciate kind of working every other weekend on a Saturday limited me what I could do with the specialing. So I kind of, at that point, did my 10 years service and said, look, I think it's time for somebody else to have a go. And I, you know, carried on my journey in sport, and then obviously, you know, as explained, set up this social enterprise to help more kids. But, you know, your question's a valid one. What helps, and I just think is knowing that you have to, you know, particularly with mental health. I haven't touched on this, but one of my jobs, my first jobs out of uni, was actually in psychiatry. I worked at Barrow Hospital, and that was another interesting time.
Interesting. Covers a whole manner of sins. Interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah. I was based at Barrow Hospital, but then also in the community, and I managed to work with colleagues to unlock some investment from the Football Foundation. So again, it was a football project, but it was helping those with a severe and enduring mental health problem, you know, kind of get fit, stay healthy, and, you know, challenging, you know, what was happening on the wards, really. You know, at that time, you know, I'd go in and try and get, you know, people that were smoking, drinking, taking illicit drugs, and just generally not very well, off of the ward, you know, trying to get them active. And I think that was possibly one of my biggest learning curves, because, you know, before going into that NHS job, I always used to think it was like, you know, the company that you worked for was the most important thing, the people that you served was second, and then you kind of came, you know, third, really, in a sense. But thinking about your question, actually, I'm nearly 40 now, and I think I've just about got to grips with the fact that, you know, if you're a lifelong learner and you know, put yourself first, you know, and make yourself the best, you know, person that you can possibly be, and I mean both physically, mentally healthy, you know, professionally quite astute, you know, actually then it benefits, you know, the people that you're serving and the organization that you represent. So it's about giving as much as you can give without emptying the bank.
Yeah, I think we got a really good, thank you so much for that, by the way. We got a really good feel for kind of why you do what you do, but what's the end game with Community of Purpose? Is it a legacy piece? Is it something that you want to live on, or is there an outcome to this?
Yeah, hugely. This is not about me. It's called Community of Purpose. It's not, you know, the Amy Kington social enterprise show. It is community and purpose, both for very good reasons. So, you know, this is what I've noticed particularly in South Bristol, is a lot of the time, you know, funding comes into social enterprises, charities, and people kind of come out of the woodwork and they deliver really great services, really great products, make things happen for local people. But when that funding disappears, actually the people that benefited from those services then are left with a huge void, not just because those services aren't there anymore, but also the trust and confidence that they had in those relationships really disappears. And so I don't ever want to be in a position where, you know, we tackle holiday hunger in South Bristol one school holiday period and we're not there the next. You know, that's not the kind of setup that we want. So, you know, Community of Purpose, it's been going for 5 years, and as you know, any business that kind of makes it beyond that period is normally set to stay.
Yeah,
I've got a wonderful board. It includes my co-founder and brother Joe, but we've got some other utterly wonderful people that help us in ways that, you know, really strengthen the organisation from a finance and a charity, you know, legal perspective. And really, you know, I think moving into our 6th year now, the best is yet to come. So we got these 3 projects. We tackle holiday hunger. We shine a light on these incredible Bristolians through Bristol Young Heroes Awards. And we also run a primary school programme that helps through football to create a safe space, really, to connect with people that are from different communities.
Love that.
So, you know, they're 3 wonderful projects. They make a massive impact to those that take part, and also the wider families and the wider community. And I think, you know, this year we've got the right team in place now, operational team, to really ramp things up. And there are loads of ways, you know, that people can get involved, you know, with us and support us. You know, if you're an individual or if you're a community group or a business, there are lots of different ways that you can engage and just, you know, do like you do, really contribute, play your part, and make a difference, make Bristol better.
Absolutely.
For those young people.
And the links are in the bio. Please do check out and connect and link up and subscribe and everything else you got to do nowadays. All the links are for Amy are in the bio. So one of the questions I was really keen to ask you, we've had the executive director of Bristol Rovers on recently, Tom Gorringe. We've had a guy who was influential at Blackburn Rovers Football Club as well. I'm very fascinated by the business of football. Now, I've had an experience of working with Bristol Rovers, not to the depth that you did with Bristol City. So I was doing more kind of the event management and hosting kind of stuff for a little while. Now, the business of football is unlike any other business, isn't it? But there's also this element of, they kind of say that, I guess along the lines of never meet your heroes kind of thing, it's hard to work in an environment where you're so emotionally invested. How did you find that differential between being Amy Kington Bristol City fan and Amy Kington Bristol City employee? How did you find that experience?
It was brilliant because it was pre-children. I was single and I worked 60, 70 hours a week doing some of the boring stuff that everyone's got to do in their job, but also, you know, conversely, doing some incredible things that were, you know, just utterly wonderful, like literally utterly wonderful, you know. So and it wasn't just at Bristol City too, you know. I worked for the Football Association before that, so I went to Champions League games and, you know, helped facilitate Champions League finals, you know, and you know, just I was involved in writing the development section for the 2018 Bristol element of the World Cup bid, you know. So wow. I've done some things that I'm like incredibly proud of, and also, you know, that I've thoroughly enjoyed, but it's very difficult, Nick, to work in that environment and have that balance, and you'll get this because of, you know, all the work that the great work that you do. You know, I've got a two-year-old and one on the way, and it would have just been difficult. It's not impossible, you know. There are women out there that do it, but I just felt like, you know, I left it long enough to have my family, and you know, that was something that was really important to me. And so, you know, that's the way that, you know, I've been able to, I guess, you know, get to this place now, really, where I've got Community of Purpose that, you know, fits very neatly around, you know, family life. And, you know, in a second I'll be heading off to pick Monty up from school. You know, so, yeah, you can manage it better.
Yeah, absolutely. With that in mind, actually, so I'm fully. I don't want to let Monty down, so I'll make sure you get to him on time. But one thing I do want to ask you: whilst everybody else in lockdown was either kind of over-exercising or overeating or somewhere in between, you set up a new business. Yeah. Not a big fan of a quiet life. Do you have a television, Amy Kington? Tell us about this new business. So you have Purposeful Insight. What's it all about? Tell everybody about it.
So Purposeful Insight is an agency that helps businesses find their higher purpose. So it's very much in line with what I'm doing with Community of Purpose Nick. So most successful people, they do well in business and then they set up a social enterprise or a charity. I've done it absolutely the other way around. So I'm hoping that the success follows. But the reality of the situation is I wanted purpose to be at the core of everything that I did. So this was always part of the plan, really. So Purposeful Insight is helping you know, organisations large and right the way through to kind of small, medium-sized enterprises here in Bristol, but largely kind of global brands, to help them, you know, find their higher purpose and, you know, and find that doing good is good for their business as well. So we've got strategists, we've got HR experts, we've got communication specialists, we've got storytellers, and there's somebody like me that helps them find the right purpose initiative to align themselves with and their brand with, to, you know, ensure that, doing good, like I say, is good for their business.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And one final question before I release you to Monty is this. I am now the MC of the O2 Arena in London. 20,000 people have paid their hard-earned money to come and hear you do your thing. You're in the green room, you're kicking back, and your walk-on music kicks in. That song that motivates you, that lifts you, that gets you at peak state. Amy Kington, what would your walk-on music be and why?
So this is going to be really embarrassing, but if I've ever got anything that I need to get really, really pumped for, I play the Rocky music.
Nice.
And I actually shadow box.
It's a popular choice, with or without the shadow boxing. It's a popular choice, to be fair. Yeah, love that.
Lee Haskins, I'm not, bless him. I follow him very closely on social media so that I can try and learn as I go. But yeah, the reality of it. Oh, we've got somebody here.
Hello.
Right, Nick, I'm going to have to dash. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you ever so much.
Amy Kington, big round of applause. Give our regards to Monty as well. So I will now let you be released back into the wild. And for everybody else, please stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, the last in a week full of podcasts a day release week, and very excited to bring you another amazing guest. So be well, take care, and stay happy. See you soon, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. And that's a wrap. A big thank you for tuning into today's episode. Please do leave us a like and hit subscribe for the fantastic upcoming episodes that I will be bringing to you, featuring more amazing guests. But for now, be well, be happy, be safe, and remember, as I always say, it's what you do next that counts. Until next time on the Nick Elston Show, take care. I'll see you soon. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.